to change, okay? That's kind of when Inui Sensei was telling me about his course. He said the big theme was really, why is there inequality? Okay. And I hope that's an interesting sort of big question for everybody. All right. So he's going to be talking about the economy and society in Japan, and I'm going to be talking about Indonesia. I decided not to talk about America because it's too big and too crazy and too boring. Something different and something more interesting. So I'm going to show you these slides and give you a short lecture, and then you're going to go in a breakout group and compare your notes together and help each other, and then you're going to post your notes here afterwards. All right, so lecture time. Very, very short lecture. Come on, internet. Okay. Okay, so this is a very brief introduction to Indonesia. 6 questions. Take notes, review later. And this may seem like very basic information, but we're already getting to, if you think about it, there are some indicators here for sources of economic power or less economic power, and some roots of inequality, some causes of inequality. So, whoops, question number 1, the basics, where is Indonesia? What is it? And so we can see, some of you may already know, but it's a very, very large tropical country along the equator. It's much larger than Europe from east to west. There are more than 17,000 islands. And so this can be an issue for people getting from place to place. So it's very big, but the main concentration is here in Java. This is the most densely populated island in the world. Okay, people think of Japan as being crowded. Java is much more crowded. Okay, so when did Indonesia become a nation? There have been cultures here for thousands of years. It used to be called Nusantara. There have been other names for it, but when did it become Indonesia? Indonesia is really a new thing, and that was 75 years ago. Okay, August 17th. And if you know your history, and if you don't know your history, you can look it up. Something very, very, very important happened 75 years ago all over the world. What's the character of the country? Or, I didn't use the word culture. But if we look at the society in Indonesia is extremely multicultural. Over 300 different ethnic groups, over 700 languages that people use in daily life. Okay, so Indonesian is actually most people's second language. And so everybody in Indonesian is multilingual. 2 languages is the minimum. 3 is pretty common. When I visited a university there and met with some students who were studying in an English language program very similar to the ISS, they study economics and accounting in English. They said, yeah, of course, we're multicultural, we're multilingual, because they all speak different languages. So learning English is just kind of normal to them. This is kind of a big question. And if we think about economy and society, freedom and regulation are 2 things that come up in economies and societies. Are there rules? How free is it? How fair is it? If we look, this is one measure. This is internet freedom in Asia. And they're saying that overall internet freedom in Asia is quite low. If any of you have been to China, you know that there's a lot of internet restriction. And if we look, Japan is at the top, and we can see Pakistan down here, and we can see Indonesia is right about in the middle. Okay, so that's internet freedom, one measure of freedom. They do have elections. They elected their president recently, but that's new. Democracy started 20 years ago, really, in Indonesia. Most of the time before that was a military dictatorship. So it was not a very free country for a long time, but it has become much more free recently. And some people worry that it is becoming unfree again now. Whoops. Okay, is it a rich country? It depends how you count. It depends what rich means. By population, Indonesia is the fourth largest population in the world. So if we think of people and population as wealth, Indonesia is quite rich. It's the 15th largest economy in the world by GDP, so that's pretty important. Became a member of the G20 in 2008. It's the only country in Southeast Asia that's a member of the G20. But if we look at individual wealth, per capita GDP is only $4,285. If we look at this graph here from, this is from Compare Countries website, Japan, Italy is second, a big drop down to Turkey, Thailand, and then Indonesia is down here, per capita. So the country as a whole has a lot of economic power and is quite important, but individual people, some are wealthy, some are not. How are the relations between Indonesia and Japan? Good. I don't know, I love IITW, I love Tagawa. But some of you will know Debbie Fujin, Japanese, but also lived in Indonesia for a long time and was the wife of the president of Indonesia. So I just chose that as a representation of the connection. But if we look at the numbers and look at the world, we're very close together. We're both island countries. Japan has had close diplomatic relations with Indonesia for more than 60 years. Japan and Indonesia cooperate quite a lot because we're both island countries. Indonesia loves Japan. In a recent